So I wanted to welcome you, especially in this weather, and given the uncertain circumstances of viruses floating around and such. We're glad you're healthy and you can be with us tonight, because this is a special night. What we hope to do is to deliver somewhat of a feminine perspective. And several readings will be from the Covenant of the Soul, authored by female rabbis and Jewish women actively engaged in Tikkun Olam. Our prayers and meditations will be all-encompassing and dedicated to our personal families, as well as our congregational membership and the greater community in which we reside. As we immerse ourselves in the beauty and repose of this evening's service, may our profoundest hopes and desires for a better world embrace those in the farthest reaches of the globe. Your prayer books will be used intermittently rather than exclusively during our service, and we will guide you accordingly as we advance in the order of our Shabbat observance. We will cite the correct pagination, which will be indicated in the parenthesis at the bottom of each page in your prayer books. You will be able to follow the text we have added to the service by referring to the printed service outline we distributed. We encourage you to share the outline, as there was no precise manner in which to anticipate the number of attendees this evening. Kindly silence your cell phones and other electronic devices so that we may fully share in the fullest experience of the meaning of the Sabbath. We are reserving the Kiddush and the Hamotzi until after the final song, when we will adjourn to the Onik table to bless the wine and the bread. Please allow those with walkers and canes to approach the Onik table with special consideration. Most of our service will be in English, so that we may truly savor the words and the spirit of the night. To officially set the tone for our service, we begin with thoughts from the less commonly acknowledged wisdom of our matriarchs. Reading from Covenant of the Soul, we have Sunette Marin.
In the circle of friendship, we come together to welcome our Sabbath so we may be a blessing. In the circle of friendship, we join to celebrate the grandeur of God's creation and stir old memories. Together, we will create quiet moments to listen to the sound of our inner voices. In the circle of friendship, we will embark once again on a journey to rediscover the spiritual treasures we have inherited. We will put aside the tensions of the week and let the joy and peace of our Sabbath welcome us home. On this Sabbath, eve of the seventh day, we will listen to our inner voices and hear the echoes of our people calling for justice, peace, and harmony. We will listen and remember our stories, those written and those not written, that we must reclaim. We will listen and remember where we have been, who we are, and who we might become. In this circle of friendship, on the Sabbath eve of the seventh day, we will light these candles that symbolize our celebration, our remembrance, our faith.
You may follow the Sabbath prayer in your prayer books on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'shivanu v'b'tzvotav v'tzvah v'avdir Shabbat. And we praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You call us to holiness and give us strength to act. So may we be a blessing.
Good evening. I have a reading from Covenant of the soul. May words of those assembled here be words of praise that are sincere. May we utter our most fervent prayers in joyful supplication. May we feel the strength that you convey as we bow our heads and begin to pray. We thank you for the Sabbath day, our rock and our Redeemer. Thank you, God, for the lives we lead, for providing us with all we need, and supporting us that we may succeed in our worldly undertakings. May we be worthy of your grace as we gather in this holy place. Our prayers transcending time and space. Adonai, we sing your praises. The sages taught that the Bible was written with black fire on white fire. The black fire is the text on the page. The white fire is the space between the lines. It is in these spaces that holiness often resides. The white fire is Midrash interpretations of the text. The black fire, rising like flames that spark in a vortex rising to heaven, contains the messages for all. The Bible has a subtext of astonishing depth. There is meaning to be mined beneath the surface. The Hebrew word Elohim means power and encompasses male and female aspects. The Bible may be seen as animated by the divine feminine. Let us explore the infinite potential for meaning and applicability for all men and women. If you are able, please rise and join me in Matovu, found on page 630 in your prayer book. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. I, for your abundant love, enter your house. I bow down in awe in your holy temple. Adonai, I love your temple abode, the dwelling place of your glory. I will humbly bow down before Adonai, my maker. As for me, may my prayer come to you, Adonai, as a favorable moment. O God, in your abundant fruitfulness, answer me with your deliverance. Please join me on page 130 for the singing of Mukti Radhana. Thank you. Please turn to page 264 for their clue. And then we will say the Shema, which is found on 269. The clue is on the By 267. Please join me in the Shema. Thank you. Please be seated. I'm reading also from the covenant. On the system of Shabbat, we thank you, O God, for the joys of the past, for the friendships created and the accomplishments achieved. Like a tapestry, the work of our minds, hearts, and hands stand before us. We thank you, God, for helping us to fulfill a need, support a cause, and extend a warm hand to a stranger. Together we have learned, worked, and rejoiced, always growing, always changing. Thank you, God, for diversity and our ability to come together for the common good of our congregation and community. We are grateful for our loved ones who support us and understand the significance of our contributions. As we look to the future, grant us the strength and energy to persevere in the work we do. When we are weary with the daily demands of the busy world in which we live, help us find the time and the desire to contribute to the well-being of others. Help us to stand back for a moment and appreciate the larger picture and implant within us the drive to enhance the beautiful world which you have created for us. Grant us, O God, the imagination, creativity, and vision to approach each task with freshness and enthusiasm. Beyond the limitations of darkness, we link arms with Hannah Senish, Henrietta Soul, and Rebecca Gratz, drawing great affirmation for the many purposes of our lives. Awaken in us the sensitivity to identify needs of others who might not ask for help, and prompt us to respond quickly to those who cry out in need. Grant us courage to lend our voices in working towards truth, justice, and peace in our world. As a silver thread is carefully woven through a precious cloth, help us as a group to continue weaving our tapestry of Pittsburgh. And as we celebrate this special moment, guide our footsteps as we continue on our journey. Now, if you would, please turn to page 144 in the prayer book.
Also page 26.
I will be reading the college in English, so we can actually understand what we've been reading all these years.
Exalted and hallowed be God's great name. In the world which God created according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime and the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say, Amen. Blessed be God's great name in all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One. Beyond all earthly words, and songs of blessing, peace and comfort, to which we say, Amen.
I'd like to share a piece. No. We decided it's on vacation.
No, talk it.
No, it's
Writing it.
good. It's good.
Who's the other one, please?
Okay, how is this?
Yeah.
Better? I wanted to share with you some thoughts about covenant. It's a very important fact in our religion. And in fact, it makes us rather unique among world religions because no other religion has the same concept of covenant that we do. And I'll share a little bit of that. As you know, the Hebrew word for covenant is berit. It symbolizes the Jewish rite of circumcision on a male child on the 8th day of his life. However, the word has more meaning than that. It means a bond, an alliance, a compact, an agreement, a treaty, a pact. And when you think about the value of those words in ancient times, it was rather unique and ahead of its time to come up with that whole concept of what a covenant means to us. A covenant, and I'm taking my ideas from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. I have been involved in reading a lot of his work, and I'm just so completely inspired by every word that he has and how he describes different aspects of our religion. So I take no credit for the words I will share with you because I have essentially borrowed them from Rabbi Sachs. May he rest in peace. A covenant is a relationship that results in a moral community and is transformative. It can be vast. There is a covenant of human solidarity that binds all 7 billion of us alive today on this planet to act responsibly toward the environment, human rights, and the alleviating of poverty for the sake of generations not yet born. What matters in a covenant is the commitment. Covenants heal what markets and states sometimes harm. The move from I to we broadens the focus from private gain to the common good. Covenant is about what we have in common despite our differences. It is the politics of all of us together. The politics of covenant does not demean or ridicule. It honors the process of reasoning together. In a note reserved only for himself in his diary, President Lincoln wrote, "The will of God prevails. In great contests, each party claims to act in accord with the will of God. In the present civil war, it is quite possible that God's purpose is something different from the purpose of either party. Even if we are convinced that our opponents are wrong, they may be serving some necessary role in the moral drama." Lincoln refused to demonize his opponents. Through a covenant, we express our responsibility to one another. A covenant is a relationship not to be confused with a contract. It binds people together in mutual responsibility and care. The Sinaitic covenant between man and deity is the biblical covenant par excellence. While it does contain legal characteristics, the text emphasizes the voluntary nature of this covenant. The idea of a covenant between a deity and a people is unique to the Israelite religion. This covenant between man and God is a fundamental principle of Jewish doctrine. Moral law is no longer secular, but religious. I am at a loss for words to describe the depth of feeling awakened in me as I realize the unprecedented act of God's revelation to an entire people rather than to one visionary. The notion of covenant has remained central in all subsequent Jewish thought, celebrated. Yes. The congregation, please rise as you are comfortable doing. And Donna Wheeler will open the ark for us. Please turn to page 164 to recite the Ketubah. And we will say this in English only. Would you join me, please? Adonai, Shabbatai, Ufia, Yahila, Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Praise as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Prayer invites God's presence to diffuse our spirits. God's will to prevail, not us. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend the broken bridge, nor rebuild the ruined city. But prayer can water the arid soul, mend the broken heart, rebuild the weakened will. In an envelope marked personal, God addresses me a letter. In an envelope marked personal, I have given my words. We'll turn to page 166. And we'll read in the middle of the page together, please. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah, the great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to the children's children for the sake of the divine. Heavenly Helper, Abraham's shield. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Yitzchak Torah. We'll turn to page 168 in our prayer book. Mr. Brill will read us in the instead in English.
Page 160, 174. Sorry. Yeah, I can have it.
174.
Yeah, 174, you say, but in English. Okay. Together, find favor, Adonai our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer with love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, and lovingly to your servants.
For our
Pour out your spirit upon us. Oh God, our God and God of our fathers and mothers, no, that's not it, right? Look down at the bottom. Let our eyes behold your lovely return to Zion. Blessed are you, our God, whose presence returns to Zion. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve, reverence. Rogat Satanoi, Shikha, Lebedeka, Yurua, you are with us, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us stumble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for answers to our prayers. There we may find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who see you may find new strength for your service. That's our Lord, each color that up for you. You're at Na'avo. And God, will we close the org? Invite everyone to remain standing for a silent devotion prompted by your heart. And you may sit down when you continue your personal prayer. I'd like to now invite you to be singing along with Shalom Ra, which is on page 178. I can sing along if we want her to hear my voice. Okay, and now we invite everyone to, sing along, the conversation, on Oseh Shalom on page 180. Now that's Sudat will read a poem by Frederick Hurst and Soul, entitled Arizona, the Angel.
Lynn Saul was a very good friend of mine. She died a few years ago. And I think one of the nicest ways we can say punish for people is if they left us writings behind, to read them out loud. Lynn was born in 1945. She was a lawyer, an activist, a teacher, and a writer. She graduated Harvard in 3 years. In 1973, she opened her law office in Tucson, representing women in emerging social issues, joint custody, non-traditional careers, domestic violence, and sexual assault. In 1974, with Nancy J. Tyson, she formed the first all-woman law firm here and became involved in major sex discrimination litigation. We wrote together, we prayed together, we laughed, and we ate together. I was very lucky to have her in my life. So, she has a book of poetry, and we picked this one, instructing us to bring flowers from our gardens to decorate the shul for Shavuot. The rabbi tells us that when God gave the Torah on Har Sinai, the bare rock of that desert mountain burst into bloom, covered with sweet flowers. As here in Arizona, in a spring when rain and the warm sun have slyly conspired, the hillsides blaze with poppies, and walking among boulders, owls, clover, marigolds, and penstemon appear out of the gravel geologists call pavement. Arizona is the angel that has made me understand the images of my people's book.
Sadly tonight, there are a few people who were going to be in our service who couldn't be here with us. So I'm filling in, and some of these ladies are filling in their parts. So forgive my repetitiveness in coming up to the lectern, but I hope that the people who are home resting heal quickly and fully and join us again for the next Shabbat service. If you will turn in your prayer books to page 332. We chose this piece in English because it expresses gratitude. How often do we travel the days without expressing gratitude from the heart? There's so many things that work well and are good for us, and sweet encounters that leave a nice impression. And so this poem, it really is a poem, speaks to the idea of gratitude. At the bottom of page 332. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, Modini Anachnu Lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modini Anachnu Lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim Anachnu Lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, Modim Anachnu Lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, Modini Anachnu Lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modini Anachnu Lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, Modini Anachnu Lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, atah shemcha u'karah. I want to just tell you that we were in touch with Rabbi Miri Fleming to get an accurate translation, since I am not familiar with the Hebrew language. And she said that the best translation for the refrain is, "Thank you, we are grateful." I'll take her word for it. Next, I'm going to read a piece that we added from Covenant of the Soul. It's an affirmation of faith. Baruch et Adonai HaBarach. Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. On this Shabbat, Adonai, we look to you for guidance and strength. No matter what we are feeling tonight, when we are together, we are one. The gift you give us is the ability to pray as a united congregation on this Shabbat. Under the watchful Shabbat skylight from ancient stars penetrates our very being, opening our senses that we may see each other for the first time. In the presence of sacred scrolls, words from ancient peoples travel through our thoughts, guiding our footsteps, that we may walk side by side for the first time. Under the rippled surface of the Kiddush prayer, melodies from ancient lands soak into our hearts and souls, reaching outward that we may touch each other for the first time. Together, we will combine our voices under the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, seeing and celebrating our differences in ways that will make us stronger. As the Shabbat candles are kindled, we envision the vastness of the universe, that we may travel across the generations to hear the words of Ruth and Naomi, to listen to the voice of Miriam's timbrel.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. If you'll join me, please, on page 371, we're going to say prayers, Mr. Ray Rock. This is a prayer for the healing. Possibly you'd like to remember someone that you know well who's been ill, someone who just come out of the hospital, someone who needs your thoughts and prayers. And we'll read this, I'm sorry, it's on page 371. Going to be singing Theme Shalom on page 258. In our prayer books, and please.
258. I think I got that. 258.
Yeah, 258, please.
Right.
Sing, sing,
Same.
sing, shalom, sing, 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 shalom, shalom. Our congregation will please rise if you're able, and Donna will open our. Everyone, so please turn to page 586. When Elena, I will read the first 6 paragraphs in English only. I'd like to read together.
Yeah.
Fighting Kids. Let us now praise the sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Redeemer, shed out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness manifest throughout the world.
You
You
are
are our God, there is none else. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign of all, the holy and blessed one. Let us now praise the sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator, who has fed our heart and loving families of the earth.
Here we go.
About conditions. Now acknowledging the supreme sovereign. And then we Donna.
We're on 587. It's reading on 587. Let us know the please. On 587.
587.
Let us now praise the
sovereign of the universe. Proclaim the greatness of the Creator,
Whose
whose
unity
unity
we are
we are
charged
charged
to declare, whose realm is our purpose to unfold. Therefore, we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the holy and blessed one. On page 588. Where you spread out the heavens and the above, the heavens above, and your mighty presence is in all these sides. You are our God, and there is none else. In truth, you are our sovereign and our compare, and has written in your Torah. Know then this day and take it to heart that I know is surely God, in the heavens above and on the earth below, there is none else. We therefore hope in you, I know our God, may we soon behold the glory of your might, sweeping away the false gods of the earth, that idolatry be utterly destroyed, protecting the world under the rule of God, that all humanity invoke your name, putting all the wicked of the earth toward you. And then everyone may be seated. What is life? Life is a challenge, eat it. Life is a gift, appreciate it. Life is an adventure, dare it. Life is a sorrow, overcome it. Life is a duty, perform it. Life is a game, play it. Life is a mystery, unfold it. Life is a song, sing it. Life is an opportunity, take it. Life is a journey, complete it. Life is a promise, fulfill it. Life is a beauty, praise it. Life is a struggle, grow from it. Life is a goal, achieve it. Life is a puzzle, solve it.
Thank you.
We pause now to remember those who have died, members of our own families, our friends, and even those who we have not had the privilege of knowing well. They have left this earth but have given us life or added a special influence in our lives, and we are grateful. They are our past, and we are their future. We say Kaddish together to honor God. The story of all people, of all generations, is with us when we say Kaddish. Sometimes we say Kaddish to remember a specific person who died recently. Tonight we remember especially those tender souls who died this past year, and we mark the occasion in our own families and our temple's histories by remembering all who passed away over the years. In silent meditation, may you reflect not only on lives lost, but on lives given. For the Kaddish reminds us that our prayers are for the blessings of each and the promise of life true, that life come true. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn. May we on earth provide comfort to all among us who are bereaved. Amen. And those saying Kaddish for 11 months, John Holland, Les Simon, Congregation of Norman Lynn Roman, Esther and Ed Brill, David Bayless, Joe Legat, Martha Fine, Ed Gold, Martha Bean, and those whose yard sites are this season: Lynn Liebling, Judith Kramer, Larry Feldman, does anyone have any other names they wish to add to the Kaddish list?
Kurt Crane. Eve Larson.
Ellen Dillman and Mary Hassler.
Stephen Salmon.
At this point, we rise in silence. We say Kaddish prayer for each chapter of Hebrew. This will be found on page 598 in the prayer book. Now we stand together in the true spirit of community so that in a profound loss, no individual mourns alone.
At this stage, I'd like to introduce to you Lynn Leafley, who is going to do an interactive drash for us. She's going to exit the bima, and those of us up on the bima will follow her and take a seat at any table that has room for us, because we also want to participate in the drash. So allow for a few minutes. Did everybody hear me?
Yes.
So, it's clear? I'm excited to study a short text with you, and I chose it because it's about women, and this is Sisterhood Shabbat. So, it's just 10 verses, but I need to, I'll hand out the text in a minute, but I want to give you the background before we go into and study the text together. I'm not going to tell you just what's in it. I want to, see what, like, how you respond to the text. So we have an actual discussion. So we're looking at a story around the birth of Moses and the events that went on, involving not only the daughter of Pharaoh, the daughter of Levi, and her daughter. So it's lots of women, in different positions in Egyptian society, 2 Jews and 1 Egyptian. And so I thought it was appropriate for Sisterhood Shabbat. It's the beginning of chapter 2 of Exodus. So I'm giving you the background now of chapter 1, and then we'll go into the text together. So Exodus in Hebrew is Shemot, which means names. And it begins, these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. And we're going to talk more about names in a little bit, but so it's the name of the book is names. The generation of Joseph and his brothers have all died, and the Israelites were, and this is a quote from the text, were fruitful and swarmed and multiplied and grew very fast, and the land was filled with them. That's, I think it's verse 7 in chapter 1. Pharaoh is worried about this proliferation of the Israelites. At this time, this is a new king who knew not Joseph, which it says in the text. So, several generations later, all of that earlier generation had died out among the Jews, Jacob and Joseph, and
everyone, all of those, the brothers, and a new king has come to Egypt. And he said to his people, direct quote, look, the people of the sons of Israel is more numerous and vaster than we. So he's concerned that the Israelites may ally with one of Egypt's enemies in time of war. And it's not an unreasonable worry in the sense that historically, that's exactly what had happened in Egypt. The Hyksos people who came in and conquered the land and ruled the land were from, deep in from the east, let's say, past the Levant. There were foreign people that came in. And they were probably somewhat Semitic. And that's probably why Joseph and the Pharaoh got along, because they were closer culturally. So the worry is not unreasonable, but what he takes measures to deal with the problem that are awful. He wants to slow population. And so his first strategy is to say, let's make them work really hard. And maybe they won't have the energy to produce more babies. So he puts to the work building cities and all kinds of tasks. I think, he was held the bricks or the mortar or whatever, and make everything hard. But it didn't work. They just kept increasing. So strategy 2. He told the midwives to kill the baby boys of the Hebrews at the time of birth and let the girls live. The midwives' names were Shiphrah and Puah. They were probably not, although it says it's been translated the Hebrew with midwives, it's also could be read the midwives to the Hebrews. So it's probably that they were not Hebrews, Israelites. If they were either Egyptian or Semitic. And it's Semitic is the most probable because the names were Semitic. However, the midwives were righteous and feared God, according to the text. And they did not kill the baby boys. So Pharaoh has given them a direct order. Does anybody know how they get around it? What they say? Okay, so
they say that the Israelite women deliver so quick that they're not even there in time.
that's it. Did everybody hear that? The Israelite women, they're like animals, they shoot them out. And they can't, the midwives aren't there in time to kill the baby boys. So they essentially, this is a preparation. 2 women who were not Israelites are defying Pharaoh anyway. Find a way around it, and they can't be punished because it's not our fault, the baby's already born. All right, so the last sentence in the chapter, Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born, you shall cast into the river Nile, and every daughter you shall save alive. His third strategy is to have all the people watch out for babies among the Israelites, go and take them to the Nile. And this is his way of dealing with population. An absolutely cruel and horrible decree. And now it's time to turn to our text. So I'm going to make sure that I have a copy. Yes. I would like to speak really good, yes, yeah. So I'll just give a little background on what Sue or anybody else is facing it. If you give me a couple also. Just, you're gonna have to share. I only made 20 copies because I was in instruction. So you guys, can you share? Okay. And here. So this is chapter 2. The moral come around. If everybody shares, there should be no problem. And it's only 10 verses, this whole story. I'm gonna begin reading because the translation, which I took from Safaria, is a little weird. But I hope that as we move through, that other people will volunteer to read a little bit of the text as we go through and discuss it. How we doing? All right, so this is chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 and 2, which you should be able to see. A certain member, as your translation say, a certain man of the house of Levi went and took a woman of Levi. That's verse 1. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw how beautiful he was, she hid him for 3 months. What do you think about this as an opening to a story? Any comments here?
If you raise your hand, I'll give you the mic.
Yeah.
I'm the mic man, so if you need to.
I mean, some people may have a loud enough voice,
Yes.
and other people may need. So,
Are we talking about Samuel? The prophet?
nope,
No, Moses. Moses, isn't it?
yeah, so, but I mean, there's no name, so she conceived and bore a son, and then usually what you get, and his name was something, right? So we have a certain man, we have a woman, they were both Levites, and we have a son, no names. Remember I told you the name of the chapter, the name of the book is names, and there's no names.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, later on, we get the names. If you look at the back of the sheet, oh, I know. I have another. Okay. And on the back of the sheet where it says Exodus 6:20. So Amram took into his household as wife his father's sister Yocheved. And she bore him Aaron and Moses, doesn't say Miriam, because girls are important in the genealogy, and the span of Aaron's life was so and so. So 6 chapters later, we get his name.
Right. And his brother name.
What?
And his brother's name.
Aaron and Moses. Aaron and Moses, yes. In our text, our 10 verses, Aaron isn't mentioned at all. Even though he's the older brother. We learn from later texts, he's 3 years older. He's not even mentioned. Okay, and below that, we have the name of Amram's wife was Yocheved.
Yeah.
She's a direct daughter of Levi. So, born to Levi in Egypt. She's 2nd generation. Amram is 3rd generation. He was the son of one of the sons of Levi. He's Kohath. Okay, so he's 3rd generation. So he marries his aunt essentially. Okay. And then we have the text in Numbers, which says that she bore to Amram Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. So here we get Miriam. Yeah. All right, so this is sort of what's going on. So in the 2nd sentence where you say, the woman conceived and bore a son, when she saw how beautiful he was, he hid him for 3 months. So the word you're translating as beautiful is tov. Everybody know what tov is? Good. Okay, where else did we hear a story where someone saw something that was good?
Creation.
Creation. It's a hint to the creation story. She created, she helped to create this baby and she saw it. And it's a link to the specialness. I mean, every birth is special, but just as God said, this creation is good, so did she say that. And she hid him for 3 months. Why did she hide him? And she couldn't even let her neighbor see him. Right? So, what else? Basically, I want to go through some of the actions that happen in the, just the first two verses and then look at how that continues. This is about, there's no names because it distracts from the flow of events. We have a certain member who went and took a woman to be a wife. So there's actions. He didn't just say he married her. He went and he took. Then the woman conceived. She bore a son. She saw how beautiful he was, and she hid him. Lots of verbs, lots of action. Okay, and that's the point of the story. And so that's part of the reason the sages think that they left out names. They just want to get into this. So the whole thing's gonna be over very shortly. So anybody want to read verses 3 and 4? So we get some more voices besides mine. Stand up and say,
I'll give you a mic.
you can have a mic or you can go.
So you said 3 and 4?
Just verses 3 and 4.
When she could hide him no longer, she got a wicker basket for him and caulked it with bitumen.
So it's not the same section.
She put the child into it and placed it among the reeds of the bank of the Nile. And his sister stationed herself at a distance to learn what would be fallen.
Okay,
Great for the garden.
so thank you. Any comments?
Well, she was forced to give the baby away because the baby was getting too big and everybody was gonna know if there was a baby in the house.
The baby starts crying louder and louder, more activity. Yeah. So she's got to,
Baby.
yeah.
But if
That's
all these babies were born beforehand, because, you know, the birth was a precipitous delivery, you know, they were born so fast, how were they not been able to been saved? I mean, what was the difference between Moses, I mean, although we know he was special, to all those other ones were born? Supposedly Aaron was born 3 years before.
Right.
So he must have been ones that the righteous midwives sort of.
Well, Aaron was born before the decree.
Before the decree.
Aaron was, not Moses.
And Miriam obviously is older. She was born before Miriam's older.
Yeah.
So was she older than Aaron?
Yes.
But girls were allowed to live.
Yeah, but this is also before the decree, so.
Miriam is older. We're not sure how much. I would guess at least 9 or 10. Because of, well, we'll see why.
Definitely was not a baby.
Huh? She's not a baby. She's not 5 either.
Right.
We'll see why. Ricky,
I always have a problem with Pharaoh's decree, because if he really wanted to reduce the population, he'd get rid of the women. It's girl babies. You know?
yeah. Well, he was afraid of the fighting force.
Right.
I mean, it was like, and he's also reducing his labor force. He's cutting off his nose to spite his face in terms of labor, but he's like not thinking clearly. Pharaoh is not only cruel, but he's not too bright. According to the text.
Story.
Okay, so, any other comments? Or, so the word for the wicker basket in chapter 3, in verse 3, you could not hide him. Tikaklo, put him Tevat Goma. Teva. Everybody, anybody?
It's
Yeah.
a box.
A box or
The ark.
the ark. The same ark of the flood story, same Hebrew word. So it's about a container that one puts on, in water to save life, to protect in a time of stress. Flood, what the flood, and here's a threat of death to baby boys. And eventually, I mean, if the people carry out the decree, which I don't know if they would or not, that the end of the Israelites is possible. So this is a threat, and the Teva, the ark, is something that saves life and protects from water, dangerous water. So she puts the child into it and puts it, she doesn't shove it into the stream of the Nile. It's by the edge of the Nile among the reeds, and the reeds themselves hold the teva, so it's not the basket, so it's not moving. And then it says, and the sister stationed herself at a distance to learn what would befall him. Well, how does she come up with that? Like, did somebody tell her? Or did she take initiative on her own?
Initiative.
You think it's, I mean, maybe Yocheved told her, maybe not, right? But it could be her own initiative. She's just saying, what the heck's going on?
I want to keep an eye on that baby.
I want to keep an eye on that baby.
I want to know where it goes, so maybe I can.
So this is like
Take it back.
the female way that how we save this baby's life in the face of this decree. Okay. All right, so again, I want to go back to the action words. When she could hide him no longer, she got, and the word is took. We already have, took is a very powerful word in Hebrew. She took the wicker basket, she cocked it, she put the child into it, as opposed she put, like placed. It's like seam, the same word as seam shalom.
Right.
Place. Whereas in the decree, Pharaoh uses the word like kishlach, which is like throw or cast. So she just modifies. He goes into the Nile, she's obeying the decree, but he's protected. And she puts it among the reeds. Yeah, so that's again like 4 or 5 verbs, very quick. It's a lot of action here in just 4 verses. So let's go on. Anybody want to read verses 5 to 7? Okay. Thank you.
The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe in the Nile, while her maidens walked along the Nile. She spied the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to fetch it. When she opened it, she saw that it was a child, a boy, crying. She took pity on it and said, "This must be a Hebrew child." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a Hebrew nurse to suckle the child for you?"
Lots going on. So, what is going on?
It's his mother.
Questions, comments?
Isn't it his mother?
Sorry?
The child's mother takes him?
No, this is the.
You don't have to sit.
Am I too close to the?
You have to stand behind the mic, behind the speakers. If
Oh,
you get
that's-
behind
She's wearing
or up on the stage, you'll be okay.
Okay,
Because you're getting in front of the speaker, that's causing the feedback.
Thanks.
okay, she is wearing the lapel.
I'm wearing a lapel mic,
Yeah, so
so.
you have to go on that side. It still goes.
Yeah, if you get on the beat, then everybody will hear you, but you won't get the
Yeah,
feedback.
but I can't see people.
Okay.
So, let's try it here. And I'll try not to move as much. Yeah, I want to know, before I plunge in, any observations, comments, questions? About this, okay. So, again, it's the setting is the daughter of Pharaoh, and Donnie U.S. is her mother, it's the daughter of Pharaoh. Yocheved is back at the house. She's not involved in this action other than what she did in the previous 4 verses. She'll come back, but right now she's just she's out of the picture. So, the daughter of Pharaoh is actually called Bat Paro. In Hebrew, Bat is daughter, Paro. Pharaoh is Pharaoh, it's just literally her name. That's what she's called. Later on in the text, there's reference to a daughter of God called Bat Yah. Yah is one of the terms for God's name. But the question is whether this is the same. There's lots of daughters of Pharaoh. Solomon had a daughter of Pharaoh. Other people married. So we'll just call her Bat Paro, or daughter of Pharaoh. And she's coming with her maidens. Again, lots of female background here. There's not a lot of male ones. Just think of how unusual that is in Torah, which is so male dominated. And she sees the basket along in the reeds, and she sends one of her maidens to go and get it. Okay, and when she opened it, she saw it was a child, a boy crying. So just say he didn't cry until the cover was off. He was like sleeping, and then all of a sudden the light lit and he was letting out a cry. And she says,
It's okay, we can hear you.
you can
Yeah, we
hear me?
Yeah.
Terrific.
And no feedback.
All right. And you can walk.
Right there.
I wonder if it's about anyway. How does she know it's a Hebrew child?
Well, it's his sister that says.
When they sister
Maybe
hasn't
circumcised.
she may possibly circumcision was an Egyptian practice. No, it's not very clear. From my perspective as having Egyptological training, that it was just because of the circumcision. So I don't, other Semites maybe not, but Egyptians,
Maybe she was aware that the Israelites were doing this, they're putting it in the water.
yeah.
And so she was aware of this, that it had going on, so.
No, he
Must
cried
be
with an accent. He was crying with an accent.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is she's aware of the father's decree.
Yeah.
Probably, who else is gonna put babies into the Nile? If she's aware of it, but I mean, how else would she say, why else would she say this is a Hebrew child? Right? Yeah, it's probably the decree. That's the majority opinion, I think, not anything that I say has an opposing opinion. So I'm giving you mine. Or, maybe it's the majority, but it's like Shammai and Hillel. There's if you want anything that you can say, somebody's already agreed with you. They can just come up with everything. So yeah, what was surprising to me was the boldness of Miriam again. So I go and get you a Hebrew nurse that she comes and approaches. It shows a tremendous amount of initiative. She can't be that old, but she can't be too young either. She wouldn't have had the guts to go up to the daughter of Pharaoh. So I get you a Hebrew nurse. Why would they need a Hebrew nurse? There's all kinds of stories and speculation that a Hebrew baby would only successfully nurse from a Hebrew woman. All kinds of, but apparently it was a cultural thing that they knew that cultural babies should nurse from maybe it was digestive, that the diet, what he would nurse from and absorb would be what he would eat in a culture. And you can make up anything, right?
Yeah, I think that maybe also it's possible a cultural thing, but if her dad is having Hebrews murdered, then probably Hebrews were seen as a bit less than, and it wouldn't be worthy of an Egyptian woman to nurse the Hebrew baby, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible. And it's, you can, because it's not in the text. What we do have is from Mesopotamia contracts between like what they call foundlings. Apparently, was high infant mortality And so people were very happy to take a vital baby and raise it as their own. And so that we have actually copies of contracts between a person who wanted to keep the child but couldn't nurse it, and then sent it out for nursing, and when the baby's weaned, it comes back, and the adoption is formalized. And so that's what's what we're talking about. Daughter Pharaoh is not married and nursing children, so she needs a nurse, but she will adopt the child. Yeah.
Yeah, also Miriam is thinking ahead because there's a little trick. If you
Yeah.
read ahead in the story,
Yeah.
it so happens that this very convenient Hebrew nurse is actually the child's mother. So
Right.
And so the question, we'll get to, I mean, we might as well read the last 3 verses. Maybe you want to read them? Steve?
okay. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take the child and nurse it for me, and I will pay you wages. So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who made him her son. She named him Moses, explaining I drew him out of the water.
Okay, let's continue with the nursing part first. So the Pharaoh's daughter answered yes. I mean, there's no sign of hesitation or let me think about this, just goes for it. What do you think about that?
The baby was crying, I didn't eat. How could she do that?
How can you miss the baby?
Now, I have to say that God has to be behind some of this. Because if you remember later on when he's gonna go for the silver, I can't quite remember the
That's a
story.
midrash, yeah.
Okay, he goes for the coal and burns himself. That's why he always had a list. So again, there's the hand of God in all of this.
Yes. Well, I think that the hand of God is that from the beginning, Yocheved saw something when she saw that he was good, that he was special, vital, handsome, strong, whatever. Chris.
Well, I just think, you fall for a puppy, then you find in the street, imagine a baby.
Yeah.
And if this woman, the prince, was in love with the baby, nobody was gonna resist her. I mean, she had already convinced the whole Egyptian world there that this is my child, I'm gonna raise it, I wanna keep him. Because it must have been a beautiful baby to start with,
Yeah.
a Jewish baby.
I think that's reasonable. The thing that I think about is that it's amazing that given she knows that about her father's decree, I don't think she can be ignorant of it. She doesn't hesitate. That, she's defined her father in a sense. Okay, so the question is, and the sister just magically appears and offers this wet nurse, and so the child's own mother is going to get paid to nurse. Does she know or does she not know? We don't. I mean, it's not clear from it. Does the daughter of Pharaoh guess that this is the child's mother? And she agrees to the plot, or is it just circumstance that it's just, as you say, you see a baby crying? Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. I want to take care of this baby.
Well, she could very well be a symbol of cross culture. She's not into the culture of her own people. When the urge to nurture this child is far greater, and she doesn't really care.
Yeah.
She doesn't care, and that's a sign of
It's a human,
growth.
I mean, it's a human thing. It's also, there's like a theme to my mind. That's my reading. It's not everybody's. There's a female plot going on here of saving a life of the baby. And that she's to some degree aware that this is a Hebrew child. I'm going to nurture it. I'm going to adopt it. It's going to be mine. So and I'm going to pay the wages. And so when the baby's weaned, which is a couple of years, like 3 years at least in this culture, we know from I think it's Ishmael. And Isaac, that there was a weaning party. Marty, you probably remember the story better than I do, but it's 3 years. Okay, and yeah, so she at the daughter of Pharaoh being the potential formal adoptive mother has the right to name the child, and that's a symbol of adoption. And so she calls him Moses, and there's a play on the name I want to get. So Moses is an Egyptian name. It also has a Hebrew root, Masha, which they talk about in the text. What is it? They call it saying I drew him out of the water, but the tense is wrong. So if he was being drawn out of the water, it would be Mashui. And actually Masha means the one who draws out. And so the rabbis say he's going to be the one to draw out the people from slavery. This Moses. Yeah.
I have a question. Rosalind just thought about something, and we have the names of Moses and Aaron in Exodus 6:20. But who named Moses Moses? The mother and the father?
No, it says in the actual text, she, meaning Pharaoh's daughter, named him Moses.
Okay.
She's going to be the adoptive mother. She has naming rights.
Go ahead.
But in Exodus 6:20, it says Amram took into his house Jochebed, correct?
Right.
And she bore him Aaron and Moses.
Yes.
Was this the Moses that was put in the basket?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So one last observation, interesting part. This is like a story, as I said before, and it's not laden with a lot of details and names, but it patterns a folklore tradition in the ancient world of the hero. It's called the hero tale, which was recovered, and the closest one is probably from the Akkadian culture, Sargon of Akkad, and he is he's a royal baby. I think his mother was a high priestess, but high priestesses in that culture could not were supposed to be without children. Right. So she would lose her position if she acknowledged the baby. So she put him into the river Euphrates in this case. And he flows down the river and he's drawn out by the drawer of water, Aki, a male figure. And eventually he's discovered and returned and becomes the king of all of Acadia, the Akkadian culture, and it rules for 40 years or something. So this occurs, there's an Egyptian one, the contending to Horus and Seth, where Seth is trying to find Horus and get rid of him, and he's hidden in the reeds of the Nile. It's actually Egyptian. It's also in classical literature. Romulus and Remus is a similar thing. So what the rabbis point out, this isn't me, is that the twist on the Egyptian, from the general ancient Near Eastern culture of the hero being born in a royal status, raised in humble conditions, and then returned to royalty. So Moses is born a slave. He's not raised in humble conditions. He's raised in the palace. He's raised as a prince at the Egyptian court. He returns to his people, slaves, implying from the Jewish point of view that the slaves of the Jews are better than the royal people, returning to royalty per se. So, it's about escaping death, of being the threatened baby, abandoned or threatened, and escapes death, but he returns to his lower, lowly people. Very, very different take from the rest of the world.
Just a question, I don't know, Marty, if you know, does it say someplace in the Bible the Jews were slaves? Or was that an interpretation that we said because historically they've been, from the archaeological records, they've been denying that they were slaves. I mean, there were workers there, they weren't slaves.
Abadim Hayinu.
Did it say that?
It does mention the word slave.
It does say
Yeah.
slave.
And yes, you are correct about some of the archaeological finds and like that, but they don't have all of the data to be able to say which version is correct, because not everything has been dug up. Okay, so, but, it's our story. It's our interpretation of the events. And we come from a humble beginning and rise over time. And I think there's a lot to be said in the story. In Torah study, we talk about Torah is a collection of stories. And the beauty of Torah is what was mentioned by Rabbi Sachs about the letters, okay, are black, and the spaces are white. Without the spaces, you would not be able to have a discussion like this. And that's the beauty of Torah, because every generation will have the opportunity to interpret it according to their needs at that time. So I just find it, and all I can say is, Lynn, you've done a beautiful job with it.
Thank you very much.
And I really want to compliment everyone. Can I just draw some people's attention to something that I didn't have a chance to mention? In Exodus 2:5-7, on the first page, and we talk about the Torah speaks about the Pharaoh's daughter comes down to bathe in the Nile, and while the maidens walked along the Nile, and then she basically they see the basket with the baby, and then they fetch the baby out. Fast forwarded to the 20th century, and a black man of very humble beginnings makes his appearance as a black man in vaudeville. Step and fetch it. That's it.
Okay. All right, so we're actually going to finish the service with singing Miriam's song.
And will the ladies from the sisterhood come out? Everybody meet up their music because we have the lyrics.
The lyrics, make sure you have the lyrics.
Sisterhood members come up right with your team. I have some.
And sort of, so we'll sing out. My Joyce.
Meeting with
Thank you. Watch along again. This is for Susan. The best leader we've had, I don't know how many. Creative person. Thank you. It's really for all of us. Thank you very much. I would like more Lynn, we're not going to sing another song because we have gone over our usual time. But we do want to acknowledge some people. Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
so we do want to acknowledge,
Yes.
to the ONAG table of Sabbath, the lights prepared with devotion by Chris Hager and Donna White.
Where's Chris? Chris is over there with Donna, and I'm Donna.
And Donna, and flowers on the table, respected by Donna.
Donna Wheeler. Donna, will you raise your hand?
Donna. And we'd like to acknowledge the participation of the readers and singers, Linda Stein,
So they know them.
Beth, Ricky, Latas, yes, Esther, Donna White, and
Donna.
Joyce Finkelstein, Sunit Nash, Donna Wheeler again, and so. And a special thank you, wait, to Dr. Steve Marin for jumping in and doing the right musical accompaniment. And Ed Brill, where's Ed? For sure. For sure. And yes, for technical support. Right, well, thanks. Also, thanks to Beth for sharing the photograph of your Torah cover.
It's on the cover of your outline.
Beautiful covers. So that we can have it raise the artistic appreciation or service. And we're in the middle, we find ourselves in the midst of so much talent, we can all give everybody a hand. And please enjoy the ONAG.